Namaskar. The topic for today is interview and interviewing skills. So let's talk about interview. What is interview and what are interviewing skills? The objectives of this presentation are first, introducing students to the basics of an interview. So first we'll be learning about interview. What is interview and what are we supposed to do in an interview? Second, learning the do's and don'ts of an interview. Now we have many questions about what to do and what not to do during an interview. So we will be talking about the do's and don'ts. The third point will be getting ready to face an interview. Now when we are preparing for an interview, we must be prepared about many things, many questions. So what are those things and what are those questions? We will be talking about that. Then we will be learning some interviewing techniques. Now facing an interview is one thing, but taking an interview is another. So when you are preparing for an interview, you must also keep the point of view of the interviewer in mind. So we will be learning interviewing techniques for that. Then we will also know some basic interview questions. There are some set questions which are asked in every interview. So we will be talking about those basic interview questions. Let's start with the presentation. Now, let us first get acquainted with the three words: interview, interviewer, and interviewee. So what is an interview and why is it conducted? First of all, interview is nothing but a series of questions. Questions which are asked and answered. Asked by the interviewer. Interviewer is a person who asks questions in order to select a proper candidate for any post or for any task. Interviewee, on the other hand, is the person who answers the questions. Interviewee seeks the position or the job, and that is why interviewee answers the questions and tries his level best while appearing for the interview. Interviews have an internal structure that consists of a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, like all stories, novels, movies that you might have seen, interviews also have threefold structure, with a beginning, which contains greeting, introduction, and opening remark of a general nature. Greeting can be formal, like good morning, good afternoon, good evening, namaskar. All these greetings are accepted as formal greetings for the interview. Then you have to introduce yourself, so be ready with your introduction and some kind of opening remarks which may be of general nature, not related to education, knowledge, or the post that you are there to interview for. So that is the beginning of an interview. The middle part invokes exchange of question and answer. Now these are definitely associated with the position that you are there for. So be ready for the questions and answers. This may be technical, knowledge based, or it may be a general kind of question which requires some answers. End part contains clarifications of the interviewee. Now, while concluding an interview, it is really essential to note that if an interviewee has some questions or clarifications, then the interviewee can feel free and ask questions if required. If not, then this last part just include a simple comment from the interviewer. Now let's talk about our next topic, which is preparing for interview. Now first of all, while preparing for an interview, what we must do is brush up on the subject or area related to the interview. When you apply for an interview, you always know about the post, you always know what are the basic qualifications, and you should also know the subjects from which the interviewer is going to ask the questions. So brush up on your subject. Just test your knowledge by asking some questions to yourself and be prepared. Then prepare answers of some questions you think the interviewer will ask. Now you have to prepare answers. You can't just go randomly and sit in front of the interviewer and think that your interview is going to be perfectly fine. No, it is not possible. So first of all, we must prepare some answers, think of the questions and prepare well. Then ultimately, what you need to carry with you is your certificates, your files, your testimonials, and your positive attitude. So first of all, arrange the papers and certificates that you may be asked to produce neatly in a folder. After that, find something that you can wear which is comfortable as well as appropriate for the occasion. Interview is a formal affair, so we must try and wear formal clothing and something which is comfortable as well. Then keep a positive attitude. Always think positive and have pleasant thoughts. Don't be nervous. You can do backwards counting if you are nervous, or maybe reach early to the venue and get used to it, get adjusted to it before your interview starts. Talk to other people, which can calm your mind. So just calm yourself before appearing for the interview and have positive thoughts. After that, next is that we have to pay attention to our body language. Now, during this entire time, the body language plays a very important role. Therefore, we must pay a lot of attention to our body language. Now, let's see some of the interview etiquettes that we must follow. First is make yourself comfortable. When you go for an interview, first is sit comfortably on the chair. Please remember, do not lean on the chair or do not lean towards the desk. You have to sit straight with your neatly folded legs and your file, folder, whatever you're carrying on your lap. Do not put anything on the table apart from your palm. Don't hover on the table. You have to just sit comfortably and in a very relaxed position. Do not try to look around and explore the room. Just look at the interviewer. Then have a firm handshake if at all a hand is offered to you. If not, then do not even think about the handshake. A namaste or a good morning would work well. Maintain a straight posture. Do not lean towards right or left or front or back. Do not lean. Just put a straight posture which gives an attentive pose. Then maintain eye contact. Eye contact is really important. So keep your eye focused on your interviewer. Then smile whenever possible. Now, smile is a wonderful thing. So always smile. It will keep your emotions in check. It will stop you from being nervous, and it will also make a very comfortable environment where you can easily take your interview. After that, we have the sixth point is avoid fidgeting. Now we keep on moving our fingers and hands in some directions, and sometimes we tap our feet. We are not aware of it, but we do it unintentionally and unconsciously. But we must be very much aware of these things when we are doing. So be conscious, remain conscious of what we are doing with our hands and with our feet. Correct hand movements are important. Now, hand movements, if you are moving, you can't just stay still in a statue pose and do nothing when the question is asked. You have to give expressions, you have to move your hands, you have to use a little bit of body language. So what we can do is give correct hand movements. Show interest. Do not seem that you have just come for an interview to pass the time. Show your interest and make the interviewer also feel very comfortable. Be polite. Do not be rude at all. So politeness is one very important thing in an interview which we should not leave. And when you are leaving after your interview, when you are leaving, leave on a positive note. Now, let's move on to facing an interview. What are the things to be kept in mind while we are facing an interview? Now, first, before entering the room, just wait for your name to be announced. Until your name is announced, do not knock on the door, do not enter the room. So, after your name is announced, then you have to knock before you enter, and after you enter, greet the people in the room formally but in a pleasant manner. Keep a smiling face and look at everyone present in the room. An interviewer can be one person or can be a group of people. So we must look at everyone, make eye contact with everyone sitting in the room, not just staring one person and talking to one person only. Now, after that, after you have greeted the people, normally there is a chair offered to an interviewee. So, but we are not supposed to sit down until we are asked to. So first, greet the people, and once you are asked, then you can sit, or politely ask if you can sit down. Be conscious about making eye contact with the person speaking to you. So you have to, I told you that you do not have to make eye contact with just one person, but you have to make eye contact with all the people sitting in the room to interview you. But you can, most of the time, you can look at the person who's asking questions and whom you are answering to. Remember not to interrupt and answer appropriately. Now, until the question is finished, do not interrupt the interviewer. Do not answer or speak in between. Let the question finish, be patient, and then you can answer the question. So, but keep an optimistic approach. We also have to remember that we have to keep a very optimistic approach. We should be positive, we should think positive, and we should keep a smiling face. Now, next we are going to talk about the interviewing techniques. Now, interviewing techniques are for the people who are conducting an interview and who are asking questions from the interviewee. But for us, for the people who are preparing for an interview, all these things are important. Why? Because this will give you an idea about the mindset of the person who will be interviewing you. So let's talk about this also. So prepare to conduct an interview by getting information on candidates' educational background. So anybody who is taking an interview already has your resume, already has studied it well, and they know about your educational background. They know a lot of things about you which you have mentioned in your resume. What they would like to know now is what is not there in your resume. So be prepared that your resume would be completely studied, and you have to answer something which is not there in your resume, which might feel interesting and which will make you applicable for the job. Be clear about the purpose for which the interview is being conducted. Now, the purpose of the interview is to select a suitable candidate, which must be kept in mind. So when you have a suitable candidate, the questions, the discussion, everything should be focused on finding a suitable candidate. Always begin by greeting the interviewee politely. Now, the beginning should be with politeness and the beginning should be with greeting. Why? Because it is the interviewer's job to make the interviewee comfortable and feel at ease. Therefore, everything should be very polite and easy. Your tone and body language should be appropriate, and at the same time, when body language should be there for an interviewee, then it is also there for the interviewer. So the body language of the interviewer must be that he is showing interest in whatever the interviewee is saying, and he is also interested in finding a suitable candidate for the post. Now, let's move about to the do and then don't of an interview. Let's first talk about the do's. First of all, carry a copy of your resume, which we have already discussed. You have submitted your resume, but you should carry an extra copy of the resume. If you are asked to submit, then you might have to submit it. Also carry 2 or 3 of your passport size photographs along with the resume. Then dress to your advantage. Now, whatever clothes you choose must be formal, must be appropriate for the occasion, and must be comfortable. So, the clothes make you feel confident, and that is why they give you an added advantage. Then offer a firm handshake. So when somebody offers you a hand, then you should also make a firm handshake with the person. So please learn some of the etiquettes how you should shake your hands while uh, in a formal situation. Then thank the interviewers for their time. Before leaving, after your interview finishes, before leaving, do not forget to thank the interviewers because they have taken a lot of time, they have studied your resume, and they have spent a lot of time for you. So do not forget to thank. Your interview may be good, may not be so good, but at the same time, do not forget that you have to be polite. Now let's talk about the don'ts. First of all, when you are when you are entering the interview room, please put your mobile on silent or on the airplane mode. Do not take any calls in the interview room. It is completely prohibited. It gives a real bad impression. Second is that you should not fidget with your clothes, with your fingers, with your hand, or with your feet. We should not do fidgeting at all because that gives a sign of the nervousness. Next is emphasize. We should not emphasize only on money. Now, see, we know that doing a job is the one of the reasons why we do job is for money, but job is done for other purposes also. So let's not just emphasize on money, let's not just give a money minded impression because if you're not there to learn, if you're not there to contribute, then you're not a good candidate. So both the things are equally important. Now, do not smoke. Avoid smoking if you have to go to an interview because if you are stinking, it might give a bad impression. So let's give a good impression. Let's be presentable and let's remember the do's and don'ts of an interview. So, thank you for listening. Today, we have learned a lot of things like preparing, what are the different things that we have to keep in mind, what type of body language should we have, what is an interviewer supposed to do, what is an interviewee supposed to do, and what are the do's and don'ts of the interview. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back with another video very soon. Thank you so much.